The day my mother-in-law moved into our house, I knew my life was about to get a lot more complicated, but I thought that I was just helping family. But within days, she was rearranging my home. And my husband was laughing at every insult she made about me. And I didn't even fight back. I married my husband, Eric, 3 years ago. He's the love of my life, kind, gentle, but a bit of a mama's boy, something I didn't fully grasp until after we said, I do. His mother, Diane, had always been polite enough before, but I always sensed an edge. Little comments at Thanksgiving like, "Oh, I see you're doing instant mashed potatoes. I always made them from scratch for Eric," or, "Interesting choice of dress, dear. Eric's ex Gina used to wear something similar." Eric would tell me, "Ignore Mom, she's just trying to be helpful," and I tried. I really did. Then, last year, Diane's husband, my father-in-law, passed away and she fell into a depression. Eric, being the devoted son, suggested that Diane come stay with us for a little while to get back on her feet. I was hesitant. We live in a small 2-bedroom house and we were trying for a baby, which I hope to keep private for now, but I agreed because I love my husband and wanted to support his mom in a tough time. The little while turned into an indefinite stay. From the moment Diane arrived with her dozens of boxes, so much for traveling light, she acted like our home was hers. On day 1, she insisted on rearranging the living room furniture because she claimed our layout lacked good energy flow. I came home from work to find her bossing around Eric to move our couch and hang her gaudy antique mirrors on our walls. When I gently objected, saying we liked our home the way it was, she clucked, "You'll learn to like it. This is much better." Thus began the onslaught of disrespect. She criticized my cooking daily. If I made spaghetti, she'd remark how Eric always preferred her lasagna and maybe I should get her recipe. She did her and Eric's laundry but forgot to include mine. She'd wake up at 6 a.m. and blast loud news talk radio throughout the house, including the guest room where she stayed, right next to our bedroom. I was running on little sleep and frayed nerves. Worst of all, she had this knack for undermining me in front of Eric. If I said we were thinking of going out on Saturday, she'd chime in, "Oh Eric, that's the day you promised to help me shop for a new dresser, remember? We should do that instead." And he would oblige, leaving me either tagging along with a fake smile or staying home alone. Any time I tried to set a boundary, Diane would scold me for being selfish or not family-oriented. And Eric and I began to argue more and more. Never outright fights, but tense little spats usually triggered by something his mom said or did. I knew this couldn't continue. I was becoming a guest in my own home, tiptoeing around my mother-in-law's moods and whims. I talked to Eric about how I felt. He did his best to sympathize, but I could tell he was torn and a bit blind to how bad it really was. "She doesn't mean it like that," he'd say. "She's grieving and just needs time." I'd respond, "How much time? She's taking over everything, Eric." We'd end up with him frustrated and me in tears. One incident really crystallized how toxic the situation was. I had an important work presentation one morning, and the night before I told both Eric and Diane that I needed to be out the door by 7:30 a.m. sharp. That morning, as I'm getting ready, Diane accidentally blocked my car in the driveway with hers and was conveniently not answering her phone or the door. She had taken her morning walk. I ended up nearly late, and as I finally got her to move the car, she said sweetly, "Oh, I didn't realize you'd be leaving so early." In my day, a wife would make her husband breakfast before running off. I was livid. I confided in my sister, who was appalled and suggested we needed to get Diane out of there. She was right, but I needed Eric on board. I needed him to see what I was seeing. That's when I decided to gather undeniable proof of Diane's behavior. If I could show him that his mother was intentionally undermining our marriage and frankly being awful, maybe he would finally stand up with me. So, one afternoon, I bought a couple of small voice-activated recorders. I planted one in the living room and one in the kitchen. Places Diane was most often, especially when I wasn't around. I felt a bit bad resorting to spying, but I was at my wits' end. It didn't take long to capture some gems. For example, one day I was at work and Eric was home. Diane didn't realize he had stepped out to the backyard to fix a gutter, and I later listened to a recording of her on the phone with her sister saying, "I'm making it my mission to show Eric that he made a mistake marrying her. Don't worry, it's working. They're already arguing. If I have my way, they'll split up and he'll move back home with me." I felt a cold shock listening to her flat out admitting her agenda to break us up. In another clip, I caught her badmouthing me directly to Eric. "Honestly, I don't think she's taking good care of you. Look at this shirt, wrinkled. When I was a wife, I made sure everything was perfect. Maybe she's not wife material, dear." Eric's response was muffled, but I heard him defending me, bless him. However, Diane's grip on him was strong because her needling clearly had been affecting him over time. The worst was an evening when I wasn't home and she actually hid one of my important work files, then pretended to find it, and give it to Eric saying I must be getting forgetful. On the audio you hear her opening my office door. She wasn't allowed in there, but clearly boundaries meant nothing, and saying to herself, "Let's see. Where can I hide this so she'll look careless?" That one made my blood boil. Armed with this evidence, I planned the reveal. I decided on a calm Sunday when we were all home. I invited my own parents and my sister over for moral support, and also because I wanted witnesses to what was about to go down. I calmly told Eric I wanted a family meeting in the living room. Diane sat on the armchair looking a bit suspicious, maybe sensing the serious tone in my voice. With my heart pounding, I began by saying we needed to clear the air. I told them how I'd been feeling in my own home. Diane immediately began to fake cry. "I can't believe you're attacking me after I've been invited here." Eric put a hand on her shoulder and started to speak, but I held up one hand and said, "Please, just listen." I then pulled out the recorder from under a couch cushion. I think it's only fair to hear everyone's perspective, in their own words. I played the recording of her phone call with her sister, the one where she talked about trying to break us up. As her words filled the room, Diane's crocodile tears dried up real quick. Eric's face went from confusion to shock to anger. My parents' jaws dropped. Before anyone could say anything, I then played the one of her hiding my work file and talking to herself about making me look careless. The room was deadly silent except for the sound of Diane on tape and then the click as I shut it off. The look on her face, if looks could kill, I'd be 6 feet under. She went beet red and started stammering, "How dare you record me? That's illegal." "It's not in our state, by the way," I double-checked. My father spoke up at that moment, looking right at Diane. "How dare you treat your son and daughter-in-law this way?" Then the floodgates opened. Diane started screaming about betrayal, ironically accusing me of betraying her trust by recording. She looked to Eric for support, but he was staring at the floor, clearly ashamed and furious. Finally, Eric stood up, and in a voice I've never heard him use with his mother said, "Mom, you need to leave. Today." Diane's eyes bulged. She was utterly unprepared for him actually siding against her. She started launching into a guilt trip. "I have no one now. First I lose my husband, now my son wants to throw me out." She turned to the rest of the family. "Did you all hear how she's turning my son against me?" My sister couldn't help but let out an incredulous laugh at that. I was shaking, but I felt vindicated to hear Eric firmly tell his mother that her behavior was unacceptable. We had arranged beforehand, in case things went as well as they did, for my dad and sister to take Diane out for coffee away from our house to cool down, because we anticipated we'd need space to talk without her there. She didn't want to go, but my dad basically escorted her out with her sputtering in indignation. When Eric and I were finally alone, with my mom quietly supportive nearby, he broke down. He apologized over and over for not seeing it and not stepping up sooner. I hugged him and told him I understood it's hard when it's your own mother, but that I needed him to be my partner in setting boundaries. He promised things would change. And they did. That very week, we moved Diane into a short-term rental apartment that my parents helpfully found in her hometown, a few hours away. Eric made it clear that her staying with us was not an option anymore. She's still my mother-in-law, and we care about her well-being, but after exposing her scheme, even extended family came down on her for it. She's been quietly staying in her town, and we keep a polite but distant relationship now. I think she's too embarrassed to confront what happened, and frankly I'm fine with that distance. Our home is peaceful again. Eric and I can finally enjoy our marriage without the constant third-party commentary. We learned that we have to be a united front. He admitted that hearing her actual words really woke him up. It wasn't me overreacting or not getting along. His mother was actively trying to sabotage our marriage. That realization hurt him deeply, but it also pushed him to prioritize our relationship like he should have all along. It's unfortunate it had to come to secret recordings and a big showdown, but I'm glad I did it. Otherwise, who knows how long we would have suffered with her under our roof, planting seeds of discord. Sometimes you have to shine daylight on the truth for everyone to see it clearly. Since then, I won't say Diane has completely changed. She's still her difficult self, but she knows she lost this battle and that we won't tolerate her interference. And the next time she even thinks about pulling something, well, let's just say we're prepared. So, what would you do if you were in my position? Do you think recording her was too extreme, or was it justified to save my marriage? Have you ever dealt with a manipulative family member in your home? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for daily karma stories. And remember, what comes around always comes back around.